So now that being said, let me go ahead and bring on, and there's a few other folks waiting, but let me go ahead and bring on this particular guy. He is, and I don't know how he got this, but he is the neighborhood, what they call him, the coon, the bootlicker, all those different things that he get because they feel like. By the way, let me ask a question. Also, let me let's just for public disclosure, you are married to what, a white woman, Asian woman?
No,
She
I'm
black?
married to a black woman.
Okay, that's why I just want to make. Listen, I just because the reason why I asked that question is because, and I don't. April, I'm sorry, I had your volume turned down because somebody is going to say these are people who they only make these statements because they sold out. They with somebody white. Corey, you got a white wife, but if I move to the side, y'all can see it right on my head. That's a black woman. She darker than both of y'all. So
Right.
yeah, I had to put that out there just to
I've
put that there.
absolutely sold out. I've sold out to Christ. I'm a
Amen.
slave of the Lord Jesus.
What you got to say about what we've been saying so far, Alton? By the way, I'll put the link in the chat for anyone else. I see a couple other folks that want to come on. If you disagree, feel free to come on and say why you disagree. There it is. So the link is in the chat. If you want to come on, so say, hey, I disagree with this, this. And again, I asked you guys a question. I want you to answer my question, which was, what's the problem? What's the solution?
All right, grace and peace, grace and peace. All right, so first of all, how y'all doing? How's everybody doing? Good,
Doing
good.
wonderful.
And I know that you probably pressed for time or whatever, but I came on to give maybe just a little bit of a disagreement.
Okay.
I came on to be the ops right now.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Well, I think that the title, and I came in maybe about 5 minutes after you started. So when you said, so when you had the title named "The Worst People in the History of the World," I don't know if you gave like an explanation as like
Oh,
within the first 5 minutes of the video. Yeah.
the reason why this subsection, this underculture, this thug culture in the black community, predominantly black, is the worst group of people in the history of the world. Worse than Nazis. How can it be worse than Nazis? Well, the Nazis, at least they didn't kill their own. Worse than Genghis Khan. The Nazis had some set of rules. They wanted to at least build some stuff. These fools don't want to build anything. They don't care about anything. They are literally the same ones that will even kill their own parents, rob them. We didn't see these folks going around raping old women, robbing them and killing them. Here, you got all my money. Take all my money. Just don't kill me. Kill you anyway. Putting on masks as teenagers. These are kids. These are baby kids. Imagine baby Hitler. Hitler wasn't this bad as a baby. These babies, say, who did he kill as a kid? I'm not out here carrying the flag or the banner for Hitler, but these kids are horrible. And the fact of the matter is, there are just some people. Now, God can help everybody if he so chooses. But the fact is, he's not. So there are some people that, as rotten as they are, will either always be this rotten or be worse. So that's why I said these are. I think these are the worst group of people ever in the history of the world. They just happen. Many of them happen to be black.
Yeah, and one of the pushbacks I want to give to that is that you do have somewhat of a point of which I agree. The black culture, especially here in America, is abysmal. People know that I've spoken out about it plenty of times, which has got me my black card revoked and a lifetime pass to the Coon Club. So so y'all already know where I'm at. But when I talk to different groups of people, especially even those who come from places like Africa, they kind of say it's the same thing, to where in their country, where some of the same things are happening, to where they're scamming their own people, they're killing their own people. There are certain tribal things that are happening within those countries, to where that's why some of those people do leave those countries and they want to come here, to where they don't have those particular problems. So, so therefore, when people read the title, especially like, a person such as myself, and I see where it says, the worst people in the history of the world, and it's kind of pointed, back to, Black Americans here in the country. I think that I think it could kind of be pretty subjective, because,
Who
like
do you
for
think is
instance,
worse?
some of those, huh?
Who do you think is worse?
Worse than what? Worse than Black American people in
No,
this
no, no, no,
country?
no. We're not talking about Black Americans. No, 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 no.
Right.
I'm talking about the people who are Black, but they're not us. What they like to say that song? They're not like us. I ain't talking about us. I'm talking about these folks
Right.
that look like us who have robbed
Yeah.
our melanin and given us this horrible name. Those
Right.
people. I'm talking about these folks that are on trial or about to be on trial who shooting at somebody who they're lucky if they go to jail, because if not, they'll be killed. These folks, the scourge of the community, these people, who do you think
Yeah.
is worse than them in the history of mankind? People before the
Well,
flood?
like you said what now?
The
You said
people before the flood?
Well, here's the thing, and just like I said, that could be, pretty subjective, because I've talked to other people from other countries, and they're just like, it's it's a lot worse in their countries with their own people, and they basically make some of the same claims as well. And it's like, I can't really say that when it comes to those here in America, those the crash outs and the YNs and all of them in the Black neighborhood. I can't say that they are the worst people in the history of the world, because I mean, even when I look at some of the things happening, even like in Haiti, you know what I'm saying? Like I've been keeping up with some of the stuff happening in Haiti, and they got, like, for instance, prime example. I was watching this video where there was these kids that were about 12, 13 years old, because Haiti's just totally unstable right now. And this lady was telling a story about how these kids was like 12, 13 years old, and how they went into her house and how they assaulted her, and they killed her husband, and they assaulted her young daughter and all of that stuff. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So if we watch some of those videos and some of those testimonies from those people over there, the people in Haiti can basically say the same thing, that these are the worst people in the world, because that's what they're around. But for us to be able to make that claim, I'm just saying that it's pretty subjective as well.
Here's why I think that these people over here got them beat. We don't have an excuse over here, do we? What do we have they don't have over in Haiti? How about running water in some cases, electricity? We've got an infrastructure, a system. We've got schools. We've got a lot of things that they are literally killing for. We've got money. We've got all the advantages. To be in this, you know what makes Satan even worse than what he really is. What's so bad about him? You literally got to be in the presence of God, and you rebelled. Now, these kids weren't in the presence of God, but they were in the presence of Sony and Apple and Intel and Jordans, well, everything. And oh, by the way, when they made a mistake, when they messed up, they had someone right there to write an excuse for them. There was no account. They didn't get in trouble. These are far worse, because look what happens when people from Haiti come here. Go ahead, April.
Okay, I have not seen the thumbnail, Corey. I had no idea that was the title of this darn live stream. Okay, that's a pretty wild claim.
Mm-hmm.
I hear your point, and I'm in probably 99.1% agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I also see what Alton is saying, because let me tell you something. These little thug thizzle Taquations from Chicago, they cannot hold their own with some of these thugs down in Brazil and in parts of South America. Oh, dumb little kids are rough. They will kill you and tell God you died.
Like, but why? What's their issue?
They have different issues than we do. Theirs is probably more driven by culture in a different sense. It's a poverty situation. It's a poverty that we can't wrap our minds around. Like, our kids here in America, they don't know that kind of poverty. I understand what you're saying, because you're saying Americans are so privileged that even the bottom of the barrel of us are doing 10 times better than other individuals in other parts of the world. So is that why you're saying that the Black American thug is the worst of the worst? Is that, I'm just trying to understand. I didn't even know that there was a topic of the live stream. I just clicked the link.
Yeah, I think when you compare the reasons why, let me give you an example. In the Bible talks about now this is Old Testament, but if a person robs or does something, commits a crime,
Right.
but it was to feed his family, the penalty is different than the person who does it just because. Here we got kids who have no excuse, no reason whatsoever to do what they do, just other than because.
Right.
It'd be one thing if they were in. First of all, look at who we're comparing them to, though. The worst of the worst in other countries. And most of these people who are in these other countries, most of them are older.
Right.
But look at it. I'm talking about, look at our kids. Look at how they do themselves. Look at how they disrespect their mothers and their fathers. How they'll turn on each other at the drop of a dime. There's name the level of loyalty that they have. At least these folks, at least in these gangs in other countries, they are at least loyal to those gangs. These kids here, they ain't loyal to their gang at all.
Right. Right.
Let the cops pull up in a second. They're telling. That's how they all get in jail, because someone told. These kids are, and again, I'm not talking about black Americans. Let me be clear. I'm not, and I know you guys don't think that, but somebody else might hear this. I'm not talking
Right.
about blacks in America. I'm talking about the worst, this subculture of people who have no regard for anything, barely even themselves, not even for their own mother, for their own cousins. They will literally sell out their family just for something else, just for some more likes on YouTube. They'll shoot somebody. Hey, watch this. And so at least some, even though it's a stupid purpose, some of these folks in Haiti and in other parts of South America, they feel like they've got a reason. Not these kids. They'll tell you, I don't give a blank.
Right. I could see that argument,
okay.
because down in South America, a lot of these kids are, it's survival in terms of they're trying to protect themselves from the cartel. So it's like either I kill or be killed. Whereas here in America, we don't have the same types of influences. And just for clarity, Corey, you called me and explained briefly what we were talking about. But you just sent me the link. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to click on the thumbnail and look at the description. But I was invited to add something valuable to the discussion. So that's what I'm doing. I don't understand why people be in the comments talk about, well, check the thumbnail or check the description next time. I'm like, he just called me like 5 minutes ago.
I just called her. Let me address this. Somebody, Corey, please stop, please, and listen to what you're saying about God's children. They're not God's children. Stop saying that everybody that walks around, you know who are God's children? Those that are led by the Spirit. These are not. Now, maybe they will one day, but don't think though that. Let me just tell you how I move, and I stand by this. If you are a murderer, a rapist, a thief, a liar, whatever it is, own it. If you're a monster, own it. You could that way you can get some help. That way you can grow from it. But if we're going to deny it, then nothing will change. So we call these little kids angels, or they're God's children, and they're just babies. Okay, until one of them has a gun pointed at your face or doing something to your child, now what? So no, don't do that. And I asked this question before, I'll ask it again. This is because all of them, be they 5 years old, be they 15, be they 25, 85, they are a soul. That's a person in the eyes of God. What is God going to do with all of these souls? Is he bringing all of them to heaven? Or is some of them, a majority of them, going to be punished forever in hell? What I'm saying to them pales in comparison to what he's going to say and do. And so some of these people are literally going to hell. And so I asked the question before, and it sounds weird. It sounds crazy, almost even heartless. If I were to say, what would you do if you were to meet, let's say, baby Hitler? You got a chance to meet baby Hitler or baby Osama. What are you doing with him? Knowing what you know, what are you going to do? Well, it's a baby. Okay, so now let's say you're in the military, and you're a sniper, and you are protecting your buddies. and you see a child with the suicide vest on coming your way, what do you do now? Now you got to take the kid out, don't you? My point is, what we have now, we got a bunch of kids walking around our neighborhoods with suicide vests on, and they're doing far more damage.
And here's the thing too, and this is where I got to push back a little bit as well. And I listen, I totally agree with what you're saying about, the culture and these kids that's running around here, they just wilding out. For instance, with my last job, I dealt with, well, I'm still in property management, but we dealt with affordable housing, like low income apartments. I'm talking about my company. What we did was that they bought properties that were like dilapidated, run down. I'm talking about the city coming out there saying that y'all don't get this right, we shutting this place down. Mm-hmm. So my company will go out, take loans from, get these government grants and loans, and put millions of dollars back into these properties and bring them up. So that area that you showed in Indianapolis, that was actually right around the corner from one of the properties that we managed there in Indianapolis. Now, this property, it was bad. All right, this property was so bad, and Corey could you probably know where this area is. It's like, what is it? Washington Post Drive or something like that, or Washington Post.
40. That area was 42nd and Post.
And then you got what is it? East Washington on the east side of Indianapolis.
Washington goes east and west.
Yeah, but it's like on the east side of of Indianapolis. But anyway, when we first bought the property, we had hired a security guy because there was guys walking around with guns, and we had a security guy. He was armed security. A week after we bought the property, no lie, there was a shootout at the between two of the buildings. One was on one side of the property, the other was on the other side, and the guys was using the guy's car as a shield, shooting at each other, and the guy quit immediately. I've actually had to work on that property because I had to go in and make sure all of the maintenance stuff was getting done, because we had people who would come out, contractors who would just charge us stuff, not do the work. So I had to actually get out there and make sure that the work was done, and then kind of follow people to make sure everything was going smoothly. And I would go to some of these apartments, and I'm talking about people just living. I mean, just the apartments will run down. People will just ask for just simple stuff like, man, can you just please have somebody to come unclog my toilet? It's been backed up for like, for like a month and a half. I'll get out there, I'll clog the toilet. I say, hey, let me go ahead and fix this and fix that. And I'll say, hey, what's going on with that stove? Well, the stove ain't worked. There's only one eye that's working. All right, let me go get you another stove. And I would do stuff like that. Some of these people would be so grateful. I remember I was having a conversation with a guy. He was telling me some stuff about his apartment. The man got a gun right there in his hoodie pocket. And I tell you no lie, I've talked to some of these people who are having bad days, and just asking to pray with them. I mean, you could just see people's faces just light up and their whole demeanor change. I'm talking about these guys are like thugs, and these are like, the typical, baby mamas, the ones who's like, in the hood twerking it up. And you could just see them just going through so much, and just me having short conversations with them and then asking to pray with them. I mean, just change these whole people's lives. And I don't want to take too much longer, because I know you got some other people coming on. But one of the questions that I think that we have to ask ourselves, and this is what I've kind of been grappling with, is that, yeah, we could talk about all of the trash and all of the mess that's in the Black community. We could talk about all of the preachers that's in those communities that's fleecing the people and not doing anything. But this is where I've been struggling, and I don't want this to be anybody else's burden, but I want to know, how can I get back into some of those communities and fill that void? You know what I'm saying? And this is where I've been trying to brainstorm to try to figure that out, especially starting here in Atlanta, because I feel like that, the church has been driven out of the Black community. And in order to fill that void, now that's why we got all of the crime and all of the issues that we have. But I don't think that there's been people that's been willing to go back into those communities and try to build them up. And I think that there are a lot of people who are there who are really, really receptive to the gospel, but there's not too many people who are willing to go in there and actually do the work.
Let me say this also, because I think people didn't hear what I said earlier, and it's possible because folks may have come on later. When I say the worst society ever, I start off by saying that anybody can be redeemed. And so I've dealt, and I can promise you this, and no one is going to be able to convince me otherwise. You have not seen the worst that I've seen. Now, nobody in this chat has, unless you've been where I've been. I'm telling you, I've seen guys that sleep with knives that when they get upset, they're gonna go to killing you. They got razor blades in their body. They got a hit inside their mouth so they can pull it out and cut somebody. That's how they live. Throwing hot baby oil or cheese in the microwave on somebody's face because the guy was snoring too loud and watch his skin peeling off his face. Or just, you know what, the dude's new. I got a few minutes before chow time. Let me go over here and rape this dude. Yeah, I've been around that. So what do you do? Well, all you can do is all you can do, and that is give them the gospel. But do not be, don't get it twisted, as they say. Everybody that hears the gospel isn't coming, but you try. You do your very best. But at the same time, the only way that you and I can be saved, the only way that you and I can be saved is the only way that a person can be healed of their sickness, their physical sickness. The only way they can get out of debt. The only way they can fix any other problem. That is to accept that there is a problem. If I'm going to ignore, I'm not saying you guys are saying that, but if I'm going to know there's a problem and gloss over it and say, hey, it ain't that big a deal or whatever, or not as bad. No, it's bad. It's dire. It's horrible. Listen, have any of y'all ever had somebody, some maintenance guy come and tell you, hey, is this bad? He said, nah, he's just trying to sell me something. And you think, oh, okay. And then next thing you know, hey, you know, he was right. This is a situation we find ourselves in. It's dire out there. It is when you see kids holding these assault rifles in broad daylight, walking down the street, shooting it out in the highway or in public. Yeah, that's bad. No fear of the law, and they have no reason to be that. So yeah, it's bad. But can they be saved? Sure, if someone gets to them. That's why I showed the story of that little picture of the boy whose uncle, the police officer, is getting in his face. That's what's required. But you can't go up to them and say, yeah, it's okay. I know you had it rough. No, you better deal with them where they are.
Coon chip will activate. It only takes a little bit of white brainwash to activate the coon chip in the average Negro.
Hey, thank you guys for watching the video. Go ahead and hit that like button. And if you like this particular content, hit that subscribe button as well if you have not done so. Also, check out this most recent video that I've done right here, or check out some of these other videos that I've done concerning the same topic. All right, you guys have a blessed day.